We are now going to be looking at perpendicular lines now that we've already looked at parallel lines. At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to write an equation of a line that's perpendicular to another line. Okay, so first of all, let's take a look at what perpendicular lines have to do with slopes. If we have perpendicular lines, they are going to have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. R-E-C-I-P-R-O-C-A-L-S. What that means is they are going to be opposite. I like to sometimes, instead of using the word reciprocal, we can use the word flip. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple examples and we'll explain what that opposite reciprocal means. Perpendicular lines are going to be lines that intersect actually at right angles. So if I have this line right here, a perpendicular line would be going that way. Okay, they intersect at right angles, so that would be perpendicular lines. Anything when you're putting construction together and you have two walls coming together, they generally are perpendicular lines because their two sides form right angles, and their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So if the slope of this line right here, let's say it's 2/3, then the slope of this line, notice it's going in the opposite direction, it's going to be -3/2. Notice I made it the opposite and I made it the reciprocal or the flip. Okay, so if I'm writing an equation, if I have y equals 1/5 x plus 2 and I have y equals -5x plus 3, these two lines are perpendicular because if you look at their slopes, notice they're opposite of each other, and if I flipped 1/5, it would become 5/1 or just 5. So those two lines would be perpendicular. Okay, so in example 1, it asks to write equations of two lines that are perpendicular. So if I wrote the first one, I'll just say, let's do y equals 3/5 x minus 2. Then if I want a line perpendicular to that, I need to take the opposite reciprocal slope. So if the slope was a positive, now it's going to be a negative, and the flip of 3/5 will be 5/3. And then I can have whatever y-intercept I want. This time I'll just choose +1. So that would be equations of two lines that are perpendicular. Okay, the next examples are the two lines perpendicular and explain. Again, in this video, I'm going to get rid of the ones that are there, and I'm going to put, let's say I have y equals 2x plus 5, and I have y equals 1/2 x minus 3. If I would like to decide if they're perpendicular or not, I'm strictly just looking at the slopes. So notice if you look, if this one is basically 2/1, if I flip it, it would become 1/2. So they are reciprocals, but notice they're both positive, so they are not opposite. So I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they are reciprocals, which is good, but they are not opposite, and we need them to have both criteria. Okay, so again, we're going to get rid of the information that's there. I'm going to have y equals, let's say I have 2 minus 3/2 x, and this one I have y equals 2 plus 2/3 x, and I would like to know, are the two lines perpendicular? The first thing that I'm going to look at, I'm not going to look at the 2's, even though they're both the same, that really doesn't matter. I'm looking at the slopes. So first of all, I notice that they are opposites, so that is good. And then I look, 3/2, if I flip it, would become 2/3, so they are also reciprocal. So this one is going to be a yes, and I'm going to say the slopes are opposite reciprocals. Okay, and I'm going to come over here, clarify the slopes are what's going on there. Okay. All right, now what we're going to do is take that information and see if we can write equations of lines that are perpendicular to each other. So in these examples, we're going to write an equation of the line that passes through the given point and is perpendicular to the given line. So this one, again, I'm going to draw a picture. You do not need to draw the picture. I just want you to be able to visualize what's happening. So we're going to go through the point -1, 4. And if I draw the line y equals 5x minus 3, 5/1. Oh goodness. Pretend like it went through that. Yikes. All right, so on this one, I would like to go through this point. I want my line this time to be perpendicular to the one that's already drawn. So I want to find the equation of this line right here. So that's what we're going for. Okay, in order to do that, once again, we want the point and we want the slope. I definitely have a point, so I'm good to go there. My slope, okay, my slope now is right here, and I'm going to leave it as 5 over 1. So if I'm going to do perpendicular, my slope is, first of all, it has to be the opposite, so it's going to be, instead of positive, it's going to be negative, and the reciprocal of 5 over 1 is going to be 1 over 5. Okay, now I'm ready to go here. So I'm going to have y minus y1 equals mx minus x1, and let's fill in my y is 4, my m is negative 1/5, my x is negative 1. So now I'm going to have y minus 4 equals, if I won't distribute quite yet, these will become x plus 1. So now I'm going to distribute. I'll get negative 1/5 x, negative 1/5 times 1 is negative 1/5. Right, and then from here I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So I'll get y equals negative 1/5 x, negative 1/5 plus 4 is going to be plus 3 and 4/5. So that would be the equation of that line. All right, number 5. Once again, I'm going to just show you what we're finding, so you don't need to draw this picture, just watch a second here. I want my line to go through the point 2, negative 3, and I want it to be perpendicular to one that starts at 7, it goes down 2 over 3. Okay, so I want my line to be perpendicular to that one. So this is the equation of the line that I am finding. That's what I'm going for, right? I have the point. For my slope, let me circle it a second. My slope, I'm going to have to take the opposite. So this one's negative. I want it to be positive, and the flip of 2 over 3 is going to be 3 over 2. All right, so now I'm ready to go. I have y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. My y is negative 3. My m is 3/2. My x is 2. Clean it up. I'm going to have y minus 3 equals 3/2. Whoop, this should be plus 3 because it's minus a negative, and then x minus 2. I'm now going to distribute. So I'm going to have 3/2 x minus 3/2 times 2 is going to be 3. Now to finish this, I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, so now I'm going to have y equals 3/2 x minus 6. So that's the equation of that line that I circled. Right, I'm going to let you try number 6. You do not need to draw a picture of it. I just want to see if you can find the equation of a line that's perpendicular to it. So please pause the video right now, try it on your own, and then come back and see how you do. Right, hopefully you're back and have an answer. The first thing that I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to circle that negative 3. If I want a line that's perpendicular to this one, I need a perpendicular slope, so I'm going to put m equals. If this slope is negative, I know my slope has to be positive, and I'm going to make this 3 over 1. The flip of 3 over 1 is 1 over 3. I am now ready to go, so I'm going to have y minus y1 equals m x minus x1, and then my y is 7, my x is 5, my slope is 1/3. Okay, so I have y minus 7 equals 1/3 x minus 5. I'm now going to distribute, so I'm going to have y minus 7 equals 1/3 x minus, if I do 1/3 times 5, I'm going to get negative 1 2/3. All right, then I'm going to add 7 to both sides, and your calculator will do that very nicely for you, so don't be afraid of that. So I'm going to get y equals 1/3 x. Negative 1 2/3 plus 7 is going to be plus 5 1/3. So then that is my equation of my line. We got it. So hopefully now you can write an equation of a line that is perpendicular to another line.